Today we'll talk a recap after week 2. So now you've had 2 weeks into the farmer's market. We'll talk changes between week 1 and week 2, changes you think to make going forward, and touch on some stuff that you didn't hit on page 1 or in the previous episode talking about week 1. And one thing you just mentioned, and this was something I was going to ask about, is the things you can worry about that you think you need before an experience, and then you go through the experience and it didn't come up at all. We had talked so much about that elevator speech of what is your farm? What does real food for real people mean? That type of thing. What is crop culture farm all about? And you didn't even need the elevator pitch at all.
Yeah, way too busy to ever even utter the words or really say anything about the farm. And frankly, farm could have been named whatever, and it wouldn't have mattered. I think we were just so busy that yeah, it seemed almost irrelevant. Now, week 2, it definitely played a role, and so I'm glad that I did take the time to really flesh it out and understand. Because yeah, I had a couple of you like, real food for real people. Are you the real people? And I'm like, no, that means you're the real people. And so it was a much slower week 2. And so I had a lot more time to engage with people one-on-one and ask more questions or answer more questions and to let them know a little bit more about the farm.
So that first week, in general, not much questions. And the question you're getting, is it more product related? What is this? How do I use this? Your friend was answering those types of questions. It wasn't digging into what are you about or anything like that.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it was basically like, what is this for a particular product? Or it was like, oh, where's New Bern? Because like when we have New Bern, Georgia on the sign under the logo, those were pretty much the main 2 questions. Because I ended up making a little sign that said no herbicides, no pesticides, no bullshit on the like little chalkboard, just because it's just my personality. And I thought it was like a pretty concise and like eye-catching way to really just, instead of we're organic, but we're not organic, but we don't use this. And it was just like, so I tried to answer a lot of those questions just from what you could see. And yeah, it really wasn't much time to answer questions or even really have people ask questions.
So week 2, that comes to an end. If you look at how week 2 went versus week 1, forget about what product you brought. We'll get into all that later, inventory, but just the market itself, differences between week 1 and week 2.
It was a huge difference. There was significantly less people. I think they clocked the amount of people that came through week 1 at 25 to 2750, like 2,500 to 2750. The amount of people that came through, which for that kind of like smallish market, it felt like a ton of people. Week 2, I didn't get an actual number, but it had to have been like half. It was significantly slower. It's like it took forever, where people are like popping in there at 8:45. I don't think I made my first sale till 9:15. And yeah, and it was like very rarely was I ever helping more than one person at a time. Where first week's market, I would be checking someone out. My friend is helping someone else, and we have 2 or 3 other people standing in line outside of the booth waiting to buy stuff. And so it was a nicer day in some ways. It was just super windy. Like a couple of tents came up off the ground. Thankfully, ours didn't. But yeah, it was just like a completely different vibe. It was like almost a totally different like group of people. Like they just didn't seem as like high energy and super energetic about buying stuff. Like it took a little more selling. But I've also been told by some other people that, yeah, there was this event and that event, and all these other things. I guess like UGA spring baseball had just started that weekend. And there's just like a lot of other things going on that distracted people from coming to the market.
There's probably some normalcy there, right? You're going to have ups and downs in any market, some sort of variance. So it'd be
Yeah.
interesting to see how extreme that is playing out. When you're driving to this market week 2, you know how week 1 went now. So you have one past event to refer to. What are your thoughts, expectations for week 2 going into the day?
Mostly just the difference was that I was doing this past week, I ended up doing all the setup by myself, where I had help with me there, like first thing in the morning. And so this time I'm like flying solo. So it's like, all right, let's make sure we get everything put up by myself, doing all that. And then it's just, let's hope that my expanded inventory pays off. And let's hope that we can still sell everything and maybe try to sell out again. And so that was really the 2 main things that were on my mind.
with a higher dollar goal for week 2?
Yeah. If I would have actually, now that I think about it, going back and looking at what I brought, it probably would have ended up somewhere about the same amount because I basically brought less of the stuff that I didn't sell as well of the week before and doubled down on the things that did sell better. And so it came out to about that same amount, that like $700 amount, but you know, it was just more of some and less of others.
And in week 1, successful, $700. Where did week 2 come in?
It came in at 6, so a little bit lower, but surprisingly, it didn't feel like we did $600 in sales when at the end of the day. Now, I'm just giving like round numbers. It was, I can't remember exactly what it was. It was like 590 something. It's $600 when it's all said and done. And so, yeah, it was like about $100 less, which I feel like was a huge success considering that it was significantly slower in the market. Like if it could have been like, if I wouldn't have doubled down on like carrots and braising mix and green onions and green garlic, like it may have been like it could have been like a $350, $400 gain.
Good on you
So
for noticing that trend, right? Right away in week 1 and then adapting to it instantly to set yourself up.
yeah, and luckily that extra week. So I had basically split my carrot bed in half, planted it in 2 separate times instead of planting it all at once, trying to create like a succession there. And so week 1, a bunch of the carrots hadn't really sized up yet, and the second half of the bed hadn't really sized up at all. And just we had a really great week. We had some rain, and then it was really warm and sunny, so everything popped. And so I was able to basically harvest from like my full carrot bed and get. I think I brought 3 times as many carrot bunches this last week than I did the week before. And so, yeah, that was really like my saving grace. And I did still sell out of carrot. Really nice.
When you look at that second week there, I can imagine, all right, week 1 went amazing. I'm here by myself. I'm in game mode. Get ready. Market starts at 9. It's crickets for 15 minutes. Are you thinking, oh, sugar, like what happened here? Like,
Yeah, 100%. I'm like, what is going on? Because I was expecting it when that 8:45 time rolled around. All right, I'm like getting amped up, ready to go. Like, people are about to start coming, and then they just never came. And then when they did they come, it was like a trickle. Yeah, I got my first sale at 9:15. That was like after it was, but it was still pretty dead until 9:30, almost 10 o'clock. And so it was just like trickling in little by little. And oh my, and then of course, immediately I go into like disaster mode and think, I've made a huge mistake. I have to find a different farmer's market. This is all an absolute disaster. And after looking at the sales and seeing how things went, I came down from that sort of anxious spiral out of control.
well,
But
hey,
yeah,
we all get there in that.
yeah,
I'll do that sometimes. I'll look at sales and be like, oh my God, like it's all crumbling down. And
yeah,
you check a couple hours later and you're like, okay, I guess we're not dead.
yeah.
And to be clear, like this isn't the traffic flow through your booth. It's the traffic flow at the market that's significantly down.
Yeah, obviously our booth was like my wife and our kids came and she helped me. And there was a couple of moments where I'm really glad I had her to help me. She was doing transactions so I could talk with people. But for the most part, I probably could have handled it solo and been perfectly fine. And it seems like the overall traffic was so if the overall traffic was it seemingly like 50% of the week before, like obviously our traffic wasn't down that much because we only did $100 less. We didn't do, you know, 350. We did 600. So we still must have had a pretty decent, you know, pass through of people and a lot of returning customers, which was really great.
So going into week 2, that you brought different inventory, different makeup of inventory, the same amount of probably of total stuff. It was just like different slices of the pie got bigger and other slices got smaller.
Yeah, some of that was intentional and some of that was not. Like I wasn't able to time my second succession of broccolini. So where I took 30 bunches the first week, I only had 10 bunches the second week. So I probably would have done more if I would have had because that was like a high demand product that I just didn't have enough of. Now it's come online and I'll have it for this coming week and we'll be good. But other than that, it was more or less the same amount, like the same dollar amount that I was bringing to sell. It's just a varying inventory of different things.
I know in the last episode you hinted a little bit on bunch size, pricing. Have you made tweaks from week 1 to week 2, or are you going to make some tweaks going into we can say, hey, stuff you're going to talk about going into week 3, where are things shifting?
Yeah, I adjusted some bunch sizes or some bag sizes. I didn't want to change prices just because I feel like that $6 and $4 price just feels really good. Like it feels worth it, but it doesn't feel like I'm outpricing myself for most people, but it also feels like I'm still charging like a good price that's like showing like this is a premium product. Like you're gonna pay a good price for this. But yeah, like carrots, I started like weighing bunches and realizing I'm charging $4 for this bunch. And man, some of these bunches are like 13 ounces, almost a pound, like 14, 15, like getting close to a pound. And I'm like, I am not gonna be making $5 a pound in carrots. I gotta be way better. And so basically started like pulling carrots out until I got somewhere in the like 8.5 to 9 ounce range, which ended up giving me like 6 or 7 extra bunches of carrots, which was cool. And I had even more inventory. So I scaled down on bunch sizes of those and nobody said anything. Some people bought more than they bought the week before. And no one else ever, no one once said, oh, these bunches feel light. They still looked really good because the carrots had gotten a little bigger too. And then on the bagged greens, I went down. I went from like an 8 ounce bag for $6 down to a 7 ounce bag, which gets me right at about 14. I think it's right at a $14 a pound for salad greens. And that was after having a conversation with Nicholas. I'm just kind of, hey, how'd the market go? And we're talking and tell him whatever. He's like, oh, you're only charged at 6. And I guess I just missed or wasn't paying attention. He's like, yeah, we charge this. It's closer to 15 a pound. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like undercharging on salad. I need to go up. And once again, like an ounce isn't that big of a difference when you're buying one bag, but when you take 30 bags of something like that, that really starts to add up and it gets you, so it's like for every pound that I sold, that was $2 extra per pound.
Yeah.
And then everything else was more or less, yeah, I think I just came down on everything. I made bunches a little bit smaller and the arugula was the only one that I went up on. I added more and up the price because I think I did 6 ounces for $4 and then I moved it to 7 ounces for $6 to get me to that same sort of price break as the salad.
So you effectively raise prices. You didn't
Yeah.
raise prices, but you changed the unit price, so prices went up.
Yeah. So that was also probably a benefit too. That's what helped us make a little bit extra money at the market was, yeah, like adjusting prices to increase inventory and make a little more money.
You think that'll be a constant thing this year? I don't mean every week, but throughout the season of really upping bunch size, decreasing, whatever you got to do to find that medium where eventually you're like, hey, this works, where you get enough sample size, or do you feel like you're close?
I think pretty good, especially with at least with the stuff that we have right now. I feel pretty good about it. Obviously, we'll just have to look at the numbers and see how it works out. But I think as we bring new things in, like hacker turnips are going to come online for this coming week. And so like now knowing what I'm charging for everything else and what people seem to be totally accepting, it's, oh, maybe I need to stick to this much of a, maybe what is like, how much is five turnips weigh? And it's like, so that kind of gives us an idea that gets us into that like ballpark of between 10 and $15 a pound. And if we can hit that number, then I think we'll just stick with that. And there'll probably be a little bit of it, but I feel like now that I have this sort of sweet spot of 10 to $15 a pound for everything, it's really helped me guide the way that I bunch things and how I price them.
Did you get any customer feedback other than them buying it, most of it? Was there any feedback on pricing?
Not at all. Nobody, even the people that I'm like, oh, I can sense it. They're about to say something, and then they never did. Now, maybe people felt way and they just didn't express it, but there was, I had zero feedback last week or this week. No one had anything to say about the prices or the bunch sizes.
In terms of the feedback you got from Nicholas, and that's something that's interesting. He's got a ton of experience. You shared it with him. Was there any like big takeaways that were aha moments that he shared with you based on things you observed in these first 2 weeks?
Not really. Nothing really new. You're just super excited for us. But other than that, we haven't really talked about it much because I've just been annoying him with questions and updates for the last couple of months anyway. So there wasn't really any new information other than this is how much we sold. And that was about it.
2 weeks in, going into week 3, is there any worries? Like, I'm worried about this, varying degree.
At this point, it's just that I think that the two things that are like always linger in the back of my mind is, am I going to have enough stuff? Because there's some things like kale, like some of the kale is done. Picked it clean. It's already gone to flour. And I'm just picking like all the last little bit off of it to make braising mix. And so I won't have enough to really make any more braising mix this coming week. Thankfully, I have quite a bit left over. That should be fine in the cooler until then. But so that's one concern is just like, ugh, am I going to have enough of stuff? Because these things are now dead. Like these collard greens and this kale are done. Or that lettuce, like I thought I was going to get two cuts out of that lettuce, and I think I'm only going to get one out of this lettuce. It's just warmer. It's outside. It's a little different. So there's that one. And then it's also just, I really hope that this market picks back up. I hope week 1 is closer to normal and week 2 is the fluke. Yeah, I'm just afraid that I had this amazing week 1 and set this super high bar for what to expect. And then everything else is going to be mediocre from here on out. But yeah, we'll just have to see.
Have you given thought on where you need to be in terms of sales each week now?
Somewhat, because the thing is, now that I'm making money, it's putting a lot of things in perspective because I now have where before my sort of workflow and what I need to do was just contingent upon the little bit of sales that I was doing, but mostly just like what I had time for and what seemed like a priority. Now I have this glaring thing that I can't avoid, which is harvesting on Fridays and then the market on Saturdays. And by the time I'm done with market, I'm gassed. They're still going out and working for 2 or 3 hours in the field after a market. And so now that I'm making money, I'm looking back and I'm looking at it and realizing, man, like I need to really consider how much do I need to make to scale back to make production meet what this market is going to be. And so it's not, oh, if we can just hit this every single week, we'll be comfortable for the next 6 months. It's, oh, we can make $600, $700, $800 a market. And that means that I might be able to cut back the other farm much sooner than what does that look like? So it's like some things have now been accelerated much quicker where I thought I could peel back part-time in the summertime and I thought, oh, I might need to do that now. And so then with the sales, it's just like trying to crunch the numbers. And if I do $700 consistently every week, can I afford to do part-time? Which after looking at the numbers, I think if I'm doing that consistently week in and week out, or somewhere where we're averaging out like that 650, $700, I think I could afford to feel back to give myself 1 or 2 extra days on the farm to really meet production.
I have a number that I would say of how many weeks I would think you need to see results for to make future decisions based on that. So enough of a trend. How many weeks do you think you need?
2 in, I'd say I'd give it 6 weeks. So 4 more let's go another month. Let's get to the middle of May.
Yeah, that was 10.
10 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I really want to just double down on the farm. Now that I've seen that it can make some money and making it happen, I think I'm just really eager to just really commit and really make it happen. But yeah, I'd say 6 to 8 is probably, I wanted to say 8, but I said 6. Yeah, I probably should give it a little bit longer, get through the end of May and then probably into June. That'll give us a couple of like holiday weekends to see how things go and then see if that's like if this is like a real consistent market or if we need to shift things up.
Yeah, let's look at both sides here, right? If you go between 6 and 10, that's a month difference.
Yeah.
My thought is if you go short, the question is, do you have enough statistical data
Yeah.
because this is life's decision, right? Your heart's going to make a decision and then you're going to grab every data point you can to support that decision and prop it up. That's if you want to marry somebody, buy a vehicle, buy a house, quit your job, whatever. Like you'll decide purely emotionally from your heart, and then you're going to support it with things that make you go that way. So is 6 enough? I don't know. Is 10 enough? I don't know there either. There's the other way of I need 20 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just way too long, or maybe 30 weeks. So you can get a real fat trend and really say, all right, here's where we're at per week. Here's average. I've been through many weather events, many seasons. I've crop planned. I've dealt with successions. I've dealt with changing of crops. The more cold tolerant things are gone. I'm into summer crops now. How does the
Yeah.
market go? How does the customer base evolve? The downside of that is you want to move on, but you're having to delay. You're having to be like, self, hang on. Like, we're
Mhm.
not ready to do this yet. So it's just when is the right time? And I don't know the answer. And it's also how flexible is like how permanent is the tie? It's one thing if you hated your employer and
Yeah.
you're like, hey, I'm out of here. And on the way out, I'm burning the building down versus like, all right, I'm going to make a go of this on my own.
Mhm.
If we had a good relationship, they'd probably take you back in a pinch, right? If they needed.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not talking about leaving. I'm talking about like scaling back. And I think also just to be totally honest with you, a big part of it is I'm tired. This is a lot of work.
Oh, I get
Um,
that. Yeah.
I think that was a big unexpected thing is like how much work a market is. I knew it would be, but I think I just thought, oh, I'm extroverted. I like people. Like this will be fun. This will be a good Saturday afternoon sort of thing. And it's after that first market. Now, granted, there's a lot of emotion involved in that first market. I slept for 12 hours. I crashed on the couch at 7 p.m. and didn't wake up till 7 a.m. the next morning.
Does it kill
Um,
your Sunday?
it doesn't kill my Sunday, but I'm trying to keep one day a week. I've just got several people in my ear. They're like, listen, man, like you need to make sure that you prioritize time to rest. And I'm like, and every part of me wants to be like, screw rest. I'll rest when I'm dead. Let's just keep hustling. And so I'm trying to honor those voices in my life and just say, okay, so trying to keep Sunday as open as possible. I'm still sneaking a little bit here and there. But honestly, like after Saturdays being just gas, because also Saturday evenings are also like social stuff. Like we had people over after the market, and because that's just when most people's schedules are available. And so I'm just now 2.5 weeks in. I'm just like, man, like I would love to just have time to just work a little slower and not have to be constantly like, what's that feeling of you're always behind? And that's how I feel right now. I just feel always behind because so much of my time now is strictly devoted towards harvest and selling that it's like, if I don't get something in gear or change some things around, it's like production's going to slip behind and we're going to actually have less production, which means less months. And then we're end up working backward from there. And I think I'm more ready to just heal back and take more time just because I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I get it. There's this whole do more, mother, go rest when you're dead. And you can functionally die in
Yeah.
a business as a side hustle. You might be breathing, but you're worthless to the
Mhm.
business and to your personal life once you go past a certain point. There's only so much in the tank mentally, emotionally, physically that you can give. And you can participate in to do the work, but I think you'll grow to hate it. You'll
Yeah.
grow to be resentful. Other people will be. So I agree. There is that point of work. And you're at this interesting transition period of you essentially added a new job because before you had Saturdays where you could do farm work. And that is now, so whatever you previously did on Saturdays on the farm, that is like imagine blocking out on the calendar. So that big rectangle is now floating over the calendar because in its spot, you've slipped in farmer's market.
Mhm.
Afterwards, you're fried. And
Yeah.
it's hard to tell anybody with a wife and kids who comes home and be like, hey, I'm just back. See you later. I'm out into the field, even if you did want to. So
Yeah.
you have the new farmer's market block and you had all that work you were doing on Saturday. And it's like, where does that now go into the schedule? And
Exactly.
even if you put it in, it can't just overlay something. So something else has got to get kicked out of that space, whether that's personal rest time or time with family, whatever. So it's created this new obligatory task, as you or alluded to it. You now have to do this thing. Where a lot of, I think before, farm work could have been, it was optional. Do we build beds? Do we work on this?
Yeah. It was just what's taking priority today. Let's just tackle this. And now it's, yeah, if I don't do, yeah, there was a day this week or last week where I was like, I need to go pick broccoli. And I was like, I'm tired. It was a long day. I do not want to. And it was like, can I do it in the morning? No, because you were supposed to do it this morning and you put it off until this afternoon. And if you wait till tomorrow morning, it's probably all going to flower. Then you can't sell it. And so it's, you got to do this so that you have stuff to sell. And so now it is starting to become like, it's not just a, oh, I need to do it because I know I need to. It's no, it's becoming the certain tasks are becoming these like obligatory, even if you don't want to, it's like dragging you kicking and screaming to go make it happen just because you got to do it to get to have it for market on Saturday or to, yeah, or to just do it because you need to get that seed in the ground so that you can sell it in 2 months. And so it's starting to feel like the farm where before I was in control of the farm. Now it's starting to feel like the farm is in control of my life, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just now put a lot of new things in perspective where it's like, I need to decide what's really most important. Is it financial security? Is it like a kind of a comfortable life? Or is it like, or is it really just living this like life of rest and ease relatively to where I'm not chasing burnout on the horizon? And so it's, yeah, a couple markets in making some money and now having some obligatory days where I have to work on the business in a way that I didn't before. It's putting everything in a new perspective.
I think for a lot of small businesses, it's the tail that wags the dog. People
Mhm.
get into this because they're like, oh, I don't want a boss. I want to control my own life. And that's great in the startup phase. But once you start having customers, the business in many ways does control you because you're going to have some sort of sales cycle, whether that's we sell 24/7, you have a market once a week, other people have CSA pickups once a week, whatever it is. There's restaurants are open at certain times. That's when sales are made. That's how the business survives. You build your schedule around that or you don't have a business. And like all that loosey freedom you might have felt like you had before is now suddenly very regimented with at least one hard, permanent, blocked in time
Yeah.
on the calendar that you
Yeah.
build life around, whether you like it or not. And that is, I think, a very hard adjustment.
Extremely. Yeah. And I was not prepared for that or just whether it's just naivete or whatever. I don't think the weight and the gravity of every Saturday now I'm committed to something and kind of the whole business hinges on this. I don't think I really understood the gravity of that. And now I'm like, oh no. Yeah. It's like my whole week revolves around this one day a week and kind of my whole life right now. Like the time in my life revolves around this whole one day a week. And so it's put everything in perspective and leading me to be like, I think I need to have someone here helping me. So that one day that I do have, I can get as much done wise as need be and not just spend the whole day harvesting.
How many hours would you say you work on your farm per week now, including travel to market, the market day, all that?
We're probably at 25-ish hours a week.
Okay, so that let's call an average, say 8-hour day. Your 3 days, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Say 24. We'll say 24. Yeah.
So you're
Three,
three
three
days a week
days.
into it. You need about $700 in sales a week to cover those 3 days of you working for yourself.
And operations, like expenses to keep the business going. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like to fund the business with that
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
labor going in.
Yeah.
And this is all, do you feel like at this point too, it's because there's eventually a stage where you have to look at, yeah, here's where we are now, but here's where we go.
Yeah.
Like we have to improve, we have to make things more efficient. We have to improve quality. Every in the farm, I can name like a million things that like you can try and get better at: the quality of the product, how it's looked, how can you grow sales at the market, right? How can you
Mhm.
potentially diversify market streams? All those things. Like that's all I feel like that's all down the line, right? Right now it's survival mode
Exactly. That's a good way to put it.
and get through. Do you feel like if nothing changed, if let's say you just stayed at the same sale, $700, it was good. You didn't stop working your other job. You didn't hire anybody. Could you do this for the full market season until it ends? And I forget when, let's say end of September. Could you do this for the next, what is that, 20 weeks?
And try and keep my Sunday as like work free as possible.
Yeah, and
That,
survive life. And
yeah,
I don't want to say hate life, at least stay out of
yeah,
hate life territory, or have other people in your life kind of start to hate you.
yeah. Realistically, I probably not. It's just talking that kind of past business that I did. That's really what sort of was like the nail in the coffin on the painting business was just like the insane hours. Yeah, like pull 60-hour weeks and wake up to go to work, drive home, go to bed. And it's where what it's become now, peaking it because I'm trying to keep one day a week open to be with my family. And yeah, it's most days it's wake up, head over to the farm, work for an hour, drive to Crystal Organic work, come home, work for a couple hours, and then try to hop over around bedtime. And so it's pretty much like full tilt, sun up to sundown right now, my 6 days a week. And because obviously market days start, I'm leaving the house at 6:45. So even though the day ends a little earlier, it starts significantly earlier on my part. And yeah, I don't think I would be able to keep things going exactly where they are for the full market season. So much so that whether I jump the gun or not, I did decide to hire part-time help on my Friday just to help with harvesting to free up some more of my time for other farm tasks.
Give yourself some breathing room.
Yeah.
I think there's something in managing a business for sanity without thinking about this too hard. If you burn out, and I think there's levels of burnout physically, just say your body breaks down, you have some sort of injury or something, like you're effed. Mentally, you're just like, that could be, I can't do this anymore. Like it just becomes so stressful. Uh, there's all sorts of things that can happen from that. It could just be like resentful, like mental breakdown of, right, I hate this, or I hate life right now, because you
Mhm.
just bounce from thing to thing. And I think for me, one of the most stressful things is when you don't feel like you have control over your day. And that's not to say like you can't choose your tasks, but it's like the business needs me to do this, or the business needs me for this much time each day. Sure, I can pick what I want to do in there that I deem most important, but I have to do the business. Then if I have a side or like a job, it's the job needs me for this time too. And then I have family
Yeah.
time like that and
Mhm.
stuff around the house I have to help out. And it all becomes I have to.
Yeah. Everything becomes obligation instead of a choice to get to
Right.
do it or yeah.
And
And
it
I've lived in a life of like my whole world is just obligation and nothing will burn you out faster than having zero control over your life.
Yeah, so I think there's some justification for buying your sanity,
Yeah.
which is what hiring somebody is. If it can
Mhm.
pull some burden off,
Yeah.
because what's better? Let's say you hire somebody for one day, and who knows what you're paying them, but let's say it costs $150.
Mhm.
What's going to change your life more as a business owner? You pocketing $150 a week, so $600 a month, or getting 8 hours of your day, 8 hours a week to decide what you want to do with them. And whatever that
And
hourly rate is, whatever you're paying somebody, this isn't like a program where you're not paying them $200 an hour. You pay somebody even
yeah.
20 bucks an hour. Like
Yeah.
when you're super busy, would you value your time to just chill at more than $20 an hour? And a lot of times I think that's yes, but people are like, I really want that 150.
Yeah. 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 And that was like the mind shift. And I want to say that I made the decision on Monday after the first market. It was like, all right. Because essentially how it went is my friend has a pretty free and open schedule, really wanted to just help. And he was just going to volunteer. And he's, man, I'll do my best to try to be here when I can be here and help you. And I learned that first week. I was like, man, like I can't do all this alone, or I'm going to be out here all day doing it. And it was like, I think I had this realization on Monday. It was like, man, if he doesn't show up this Friday, what obligation does he have to? I'm not paying him. He's just doing it as a friend just because he wants to be out here. It's hard work. It's hot. It's like he has zero obligation to be out here. And if he doesn't come out here, I am screwed. And then so it's just like, but then I'm also thinking, okay, I'm making a little bit more money than I thought I would be making at this point. Maybe we can free up another day a week. Like maybe now that I have Fridays off at the farm, I'm only there 4 days a week. Maybe we look at taking a Tuesday off, and now I'm only there 3 days a week. And then it hit me. It's like, I have a choice to make. I can either potentially lock that person in with pay, and now there's an obligation. Now there's a commitment, or I can free myself up for another day to do other farm tasks. And I just came to the realization that it's like, I would rather have one day that is like hyper productive to where I can put someone who has some skill and ability to do this. And I can just say, here's your pick list, go do it. And I'm going to run around and do all the other things that need to be done while I'm here. I'm thinking about it. It's all in this sort of like mindset. And then as opposed to having one full day where I'm running around like a crazy person trying to get everything harvested, I'm going to have another day where I'm just trying to fill my day with all the other things I need to do. It was basically what I'm paying him versus what I'm making. It comes out in the wash. So it's either I'm going to lose this money because I'm not working at Crystal Organic this day, or I'm going to lose it because I'm hiring somebody. And the benefit is I'm locking this person in who can do this job and is only going to get better, and they get to be here. And then, that seemed like a far better investment in freeing up another day. Yeah. And just because it's been Fridays are just going to be super hyper productive, and I'm going to be able to work all day and get some planned. And then I can then do tasks like building new beds that are an absolute pain in the ass to do alone. I've hired someone and I have them here to help me. And so it's like it boosts morale. It makes jobs go quicker. You can bounce ideas off of someone. You're just not out there by yourself in the heat. It seemed like a far better investment of that $120 than it would be to basically take that away from this other day, week, or whatever.
Yeah, I'm with you. There are definitely people that run farm businesses by themselves. And I think it has to be a certain scale. It's
Yeah.
pretty small, and you got to be hyper organized. And those people know who they are. Everybody else, I think it's really tough, especially once you get above a certain size, because you can't do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how organized you are, how much you could love every minute of it. You can't harvest over a certain amount of beds per day. If you grow your sales 50% and you're already maxed, where is it? And you're in the land where nothing's even broke. What if something breaks now, right? Like
Yeah.
your water system hits the bed, and all of a sudden, like you got to spend a day on that when nothing else gets done. And it's
Yeah.
also when it's just you, like what's getting done, the stuff that is absolutely urgent and important. What's not getting done? Sure, there's a lot of like crap that doesn't need to be getting done, not done,
Mhm.
but you're also doing a lot of stuff that you probably should be doing, like
Yeah.
focusing on growing the business and looking at the numbers and making sure you're doing the right thing. It's where are we driving this ship? Are we heading in the right direction at the right speed on the right vehicle? Or are we so caught up in where we're going? We're just running with our head down, looking down at the road, and we're going to end up wherever we end up, but we're running the whole time. Like we're not giving up. We're running. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter where we're going. And
Yeah.
it's real
Exactly.
hard to get stuck in the ladder, or it's real
Mhm.
easy to get stuck in the ladder and hard to bust yourself out and be like, I don't need to just be a doer.
Yeah.
What would you do if you go into week 3 and let's say you brought enough product to the market? Say you brought $1,200 worth of stuff and it all sold out. That's obviously good. The trend is up.
Hmm. Yeah.
Would that be a logistical problem suddenly on the farm? Are you going to be able to get enough stuff going forward? If things trend up, is that going to have production effects?
Yeah. Honestly, I think in putting everything in perspective, I think I realized like, yeah, like our current like production scale, I think hitting this like $700 a week every single week from here until the end of the market. It was like that. I said it for 4 days straight. It was like I was in a trance. I got to grow more. I got to get more stuff on the ground. I got to get more stuff on the ground. It was just like, I need to get tighter. Beds don't need to be left empty. As soon as something starts flowering and it's no longer like really viable, it just needs to get out and something else needs to get in. I've been able to be a little loosey goosey and I've got to double down. And that's right now. Yeah. So if the market stays super busy, yeah, I'm in a way like leaving money on the table of just being like, I could probably sell $1,200 a week if it stays busy and I'm only able to produce seven. It's bittersweet because it can sell everything that I grow. Great book, by the way. But I'm also like, I'm totally losing out on this opportunity to really take this business to the next level. And so it's, yeah, I think that was the realization of like, all right, if I want to hit this magical $1,000, $1,200 a week that we've been talking about for months now, it's, yeah, production is going to have to be way more than we are right now. Now, granted, I have a lot more space. I'm only growing on like a third of the available space that I have. So I have a lot more room to grow. But now that 70% of my time is spent solely on harvesting, and then the other 30% is spent on a little bit of weeding and mostly planting, there's zero time for expansion. And so I think
It's
in
not
hindsight, oh, go ahead.
it's not a land problem, it's a labor problem.
Exactly. It's a time and labor problem.
Because you eventually you have to get to the point where let me back up a little bit. Week 2, did you sell everything you brought?
No, yeah, I had about $100 worth of stuff left over.
Okay, so a little bit left. But yeah, eventually you never want to be selling totally out.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
Nicholas told me you should shoot for bringing home 10% of what you took. So then you know that you basically like you got every possible sale you could have had and only brought just a tiny bit to know that you didn't miss out on any possible sales.
So the tricky part here is you want to keep ratcheting up the sales. You don't know what the market will do, but you need to have, if you want to sell $1,200 on June 1, you need to be planning that stuff now.
Yeah.
So are you production planning as though sales will be higher?
I think right now I'm just being totally honest with you. I'm just like trying to just plant what I can plant. And obviously I have notes and I can go back and do that. But it's basically, I know I just need to keep planting arugula and hack horizon lettuce. Just keep planting those because I will harvest them and I'll sell them and that just won't stop. And then trying to get another succession of like leafy greens in the ground, which I just did some over the last couple of weeks. And then probably a little behind on like the summer stuff, squash and tomatoes and all that sort of thing. Just as just like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm not super behind. But yeah, I think at this point, I'm just trying to work to just stay above water, like
Yeah.
trying to like,
Oh, I get it.
and it's not like, all right, we need to plant this many plants to make sure that we can hit this sales goal on June 1st. It's just sort of like, all right, we know that a planting of lettuce is this many trays. So let's just go ahead and do another one. And it's almost like trying to just nail those successions every week or every couple of weeks on the stuff that I know that I will consistently sell while also trying to add in the new stuff on top of that. So it's a little tough to know exactly. Obviously things are growing a lot faster. So more things will come online than or faster than they were previously. But yeah, I don't know if we'll have come June 1st. I don't know if we'll have $1,200 a week worth of stuff to sell.
Yeah, I think a lot of when you're either a new business or a new entrepreneur, or a new entrepreneur or an entrepreneur in a new business, it's just a CF in the beginning because you don't have the experience and data to really plan ahead. You can do your best, but if you are limited with resources, which is usually time and labor, you have to give some stuff. I always think of it like the movie Black Hawk Down. It's you got to get out of the city alive. You can
Yeah.
worry about the rest of the war later. If you don't
Yeah.
get out of the city, who cares what happens in the war? Get out of there. And I think we all have that. And I have that now in just not starting a business, but it's like new phases of business or when you grow or change. There's just these time periods where it's like your head is spinning
Hmm.
and there's so much to do and everybody needs something. And it doesn't feel like there's enough time. And you're probably not always making the best decisions, but decisions sometimes are being required of you so rapidly. It's
Yeah.
like answer, answer. Like you're just like keep clicking answer. And it's I gotta get through this period before I can just take a breath and zoom out. And the trick, I think, is getting yourself out of that rapid reaction phase
Yeah.
as soon as you can when you have enough free labor time. So hiring this person, like it de-stresses, it buys you some of that buffer. You know?
Yeah. And it'll free me up to, yeah, take a breath, knowing that we're here, we're going to get stuff harvested. And it's like, all right, now instead of just let's scramble and try to squeeze this in after you get home from work and let's get a bed of arugula and a bed of hackerize in, it's like, all right, let's stop. Let's think critically about this. Which bed does it need to be in? Do we need to do two beds? Do we need to do one? Do we need to, because there's been a couple of things that I planted and it's probably, probably didn't really need to plant that. Probably should have saved that for more lettuce. Just like keep as much open space for lettuce as possible, which depending on how sales go may not need to be true, but maybe just keep it for acarize and arugula and carrots. But it's because yeah, and that reactionary thing, it's not only that you're just reacting, but also like you're not having time to think about the decisions that you're making. So you're trying to tread and keep your head above water just to make it through and stuff's falling through the cracks. But then also when you are executing on something, maybe it's sloppy or it's ill timed or you just rush through it because you're not taking the time to breathe and think critically. And so that's really where I'm at right now. And going back to that like 6 week number, it's just, I think I can bear down and just take it for another 6 weeks of kind of the rat race. It's like, but after that, my God, I'm ready to just stop and just take a breath and just start thinking critically again and be a decision maker and not just a reactionary thing.
Yeah, it might be the best move. You might just say, hey, data be damned. It's gonna go where it's gonna go. Like
Yeah.
I think I can execute on the production side.
Yeah.
You can't control the sales to some extent, right? Like you can do your best to have a good presentation.
Mm.
But if you're farmers market, you're more or less 100% market dependent, unless you can draw your own following there. So if that's out of your control and you think at least there's promise, then sure, I can wait 4 more weeks, 5 more weeks, 10 more weeks to get more data, but I'm getting that much more behind, that much
Exactly.
more burned out. I may be making decisions that hurt in the future. So transitioning sooner gives you that additional time to think stuff through.
Yeah. And like a great example is like the online store. I really talked it up big at the market. We got like 3 pages worth of emails signups for the newsletter and telling everyone, especially because it was a really easy sell. Because they're like, oh, I wanted to get carrots and I saw that you already sold out. And I'm like, sign up for our email newsletter. And hopefully in the next month or so, I'll have the online store and you can order ahead. And so I've already been promoting it and people were like, yeah. And I've essentially completely stopped all sales to friends and family and everyone in the area that we're selling to. So I have this like reservoir of potential sales that I've completely stopped even tapping. And so it's if I can find a little bit of breathing room to get all that executed well, because that's why I keep putting it off because I can't do this sloppy. I have to do this right if it's going to be successful. And so but if I can find a little bit of breathing room to execute the online store, I might be able to make up the potential lack in sales if the market doesn't quite take off like I'm hoping it does to get to those sales goals that I need to. But also, if I don't have enough time to stop and really think in production, if the production can't even meet the farmer's market, and then I try to throw in an online store, then I'm just like, all I'm doing is like making another hole in the sinking ship, and it's just going to start sinking faster. And I have a lot of motivation right now. It feels for the future success of the business to start really scaling back the other parts of my life to just say, we need to breathe and start executing very intentional, calculated decisions to like really get the ball rolling. Cause it was like everything was leading up to getting this big thing up over the crest. And then the farmer's market started and now we're going downhill. Now it's like, all right, if we don't start doing a little course correcting along the way, it's going to just completely roll out of control. And then you're just along for the ride.
Yeah, part of me hearing that email list says you should hit that list now. Like my thinking is you get that many people signed up, they have a recent memory, right? You let it sit for another 8 weeks. Some of those people might be like, who is this?
Yeah.
Where you say you send an email tomorrow. I think it'd be super basic. Here's what we have this week for pre-order. Bing. Here's the price. Bing. If you want to order something, just email me back. No forms, none of it.
Yeah.
See what you get back. Pre-sell it. Pick up at market. If you have to invoice each person through Square,
Yeah.
that's going to take time. If you got a couple $100 worth of sales out of it, maybe it's worth
Yeah.
it. I don't know. That's one thing I feel like it would take time, but I just wonder, is there something there in an early business where it's like every dollar that comes in counts, every dollar matters? Can you squeeze some more juice out of it?
Yeah. So yeah, we're in like decision making mode right now, and it's a lot.
So week 1, 700, week 2, 600. What's your goal for week 3?
I gotta look and see. I'll probably even double down and do maybe even more carrots. I don't know. I get torn on, do you just try to like run and gun and get as much sold as fast as you possibly can? Or do you try to stretch it out so you can have like guaranteed cash flow? Do you go fast money now or consistent money over time? And so we'll see, but I'm feeling good knowing what my cooler space is, my truck space, and how the market's been. If I can keep shooting for this $700 a week inventory, then I think we'll be good. Plus, it's good for my mind and my mental health to just be like, this is a number. We've hit this number before. Let's just shoot for it again instead of like constantly trying to like change or do something different and compare that and compare this. And so I think just for ease of sanity, we'll just try to stick with that $700.
Yeah, and then bring $800 worth of stuff to allow yourself
No.
that overage, or you're gonna bring $700 worth of stuff.
Yeah, I think because I brought a lot extra because I was like, I'm going to double down. And it was like, I ended up with a bunch of extra stuff. So I do already have some inventory baked in that I don't have to harvest. So yeah, maybe I will bring, because I'm about $100 of stuff in the cooler right now. And most of it should be fine, which would be good because then it'll give me a little bit of a buffer and let some other stuff grow for a coming week. Yeah, maybe we'll shoot for $800.
Yeah, it's fascinating seeing this from afar, and just it's refreshing to see somebody go through a lot of what I felt like I've been through. Obviously, different businesses, but
yeah,
I think you can feel alone in doing some of this, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this are like, "Been there, brother."
yeah.
Ain't tough.
I mean, that's an unintended benefit of doing this. The hope was that I can be a resource for other people, that they can realize like, oh, someone else has been there. This is what they, dealt with going through the trenches. But also it's, oh, if I didn't have this, I would be just freaking out to my wife right now. Oh my God, I don't know what to do. So this has been a big benefit for me as well. Thank you.
Yeah, and I for anybody listening, I guarantee if you're listening to this, it will not be easier than this, but it could be a lot harder. So this is a nice buffer, right? Is there any way this could be much simpler?
My prayers have been, God, if you can just give me like $600 a week, so then I could just have the peace of mind of knowing that our bills could get paid and then I could just focus on the farm. That'd be the only thing that might make it simpler. But other than that, with like just the reality of where life is, I think we're doing pretty good considering.
Yeah, right on. Enjoy it.
Thank you, sir.